Adrian Sabane asks, why the Mega Drive?
Yeah, so we've all been fans of the Mega Drive, in my case, since I was about 13. And yeah, we've always wanted to make a Mega Drive game as well. But I think it was only recently that it became viable because we tried to create a game at the 2016 Global Game Jam, which gives you just 48 hours to do so. But yeah, we managed to pull that off. Yeah, it got us thinking that we might actually be able to put one together one day and release it commercially. And after we saw Matt Phillips' Tanglewood Kickstarter, which did particularly well, we thought there must be enough of an audience out there to warrant creating a full Mega Drive game, with the box and the cartridge. So yeah, we took the plunge. We've put together a team, including Henk Nyborg and Catherine Manabde and Savage Regime as well, of course. Yeah, we spent a long time getting the Kickstarter just right and launched it a month ago now, and it's gone extremely well. So yeah, I think it was probably a bit of a gamble creating a Mega Drive game, but it's one that's paid off. And yeah, it's just great to be making something other than like a Steam game or a PS4 game. So it's a good technical challenge for us. And yeah, in terms of creativity, it's interesting to be working with the Mega Drive's palette constraints and sound constraints, if you can call them that. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it, and the game's shaping up really well.
Yeah, I remember that Game Jam game. That was Fiddle Smarties, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You sent me a ROM back then, and I really enjoyed it. I even noticed a reference to Altered Beast.
Was it? That must have been John. What was that then?
There was an enemy which looks a lot like one of the bosses from Altered Beast. But it was changed. It was clearly not a sprite rip. It was just inspired by it.
John might have done that deliberately. Yeah, I want to see that.
Oh yeah, I'll be sure to put a side-by-side comparison on the video. Adrian also asks, will the game feature a storyline?
Yeah, there is a storyline. Obviously, with it being a top-down arcade shooter, don't expect Lord of the Rings, but it's there's a storyline and there's a bit of a twist. The setup of the game has you descending on this colony which is supposedly being overrun by aliens. But yeah, I won't give away too much, but let's just say all is not as it seems, and these things will unravel as you play through the various areas, of which there are 6 now, thanks to Kickstarter.
Nice! Always good to see a Kickstarter improving a game.
Yeah.
Is there any chance of a Master System port?
We've had a few people approach us and actually offer to port the game for us. Yeah, and I do love the Master System. It's like the Mega Drive. It's got a certain charm to it and a character. But yeah, I think the main factor for me is that the Master System's resolution is considerably lower than the Mega Drive's, of course. So that would mean just redrawing all of the art. Yeah, that's a huge task. We couldn't get Henk to do that really. It's probably not cost effective for I don't know how many people would really buy Xenocrisis on the Master System. But yeah, if we get enough people knocking on our door, then we might consider it. But for now, it's a bit of a pipe dream, really. Yeah.
That makes sense. But if people are offering to port the game for you, you could take that as an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, code-wise, I'm happy with people to do that. It's just the art, really. I mean, Henk is one of the best artists on the planet, and getting anywhere near that standard of art on the Master System, I doubt anyone else could do that, really. Only Henk could really do it, and he'd really be redrawing all of the art again, so that's a very time-consuming and costly process. So, and yeah, with a port, we like to handle the ports ourselves generally, so we can guarantee the quality. Yeah, it's always a bit scary giving your code and assets to another porting house to see what they come up with. So yeah, I think if it's going to happen, it would probably be ourselves, but yeah, probably not going to happen, at least not in the near future.
Okay, I see. Adrian also asks, how many hours of work or lines of code does the game represent at this point?
At this point, well, I've not seen Matt's code. So Matt's our technical coder, and he's putting the engine together. He's writing some pretty hardcore code, which, I guess on the Mega Drive, it's not necessarily about the number of lines of code. It's more about the quality of the code, making sure it's efficient and fits in memory and all the rest of it. So yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, coding a Mega Drive game is very tricky, way harder than say making a PC or console game, modern console game, I should say.
Mateus Matterzok, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, also asks if you would try improving the Dreamcast version in terms of visuals, like adding dynamic lighting to bullets and explosions, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we've been asked that a few times. It's difficult because we want the Mega Drive, the Mega Drive version really is the lead version, so we want that to be a top-notch product, and we don't want the other versions to really detract from it or be miles better. So, and also going back to Hank's artwork, it's almost too good to actually mess around with. We're a bit wary of adding lighting effects and shaders. I don't really think it's necessary. And I think a good example of that is, say, if you look at Street Fighter 3 on the Dreamcast, which is really nice 2D game with some of the best artwork you'll see. Yeah, I think Hank's stuff is up there with that, really. Obviously, we could add more colours, could increase the resolution, but yeah, that's a whole load of work. So for the moment, yeah, we're just going to do a straight port to the Dreamcast. We'll enhance the controls to work nicely with a standard Dreamcast controller. But yeah, we don't want to add too much. We might add little things like bullet cases, which, just little cosmetic effects, which aren't going to change the game. And yeah, we'll also probably be adding those to the Switch as well, where there isn't such a tight limit on the number of sprites and tiles they have on the screen as on the Mega Drive.
Yeah, I get that. I'm assuming you're going to do a straight port in terms of resolution, like doubling or tripling the lines, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's going to be doubled. So the Mega Drive's vertical resolution is 224 pixels and the Dreamcast is 480. So 2 times 224 is 448, which leaves us 32 short. So that means we'll have probably an extra tile or two at the top and bottom of the screen. That's the only difference. But yeah, we'll double scale the pixel up using nearest neighbor scaling so we don't get any of that ugly filtering.
Sheriff Blatz asks, how will Xenocrisis be utilizing the Zilog Z80 CPU and PSG sound chip on the Genesis? Will the Z80 be used for extra processing grunt, purely to control the sound, or a bit of both?
Yeah, I saw Matt and Daniel, actually, that's Savage Regime's name. They were talking about it on Slack today, and that was a hardcore conversation, so I just stayed out of that. But yeah, Daniel he wants to use every aspect of the Mega Drive's architecture, I think, to squeeze out the best possible music and sound effects. So yeah, the Z80 will be probably completely burnt out by what Daniel's going to do. So yeah, don't worry about that. We're going to be pushing it to the limit, yeah.
You should totally overclock the console, just saying.
Can you do that with the Motorola? I bet you can.
Actually, I think I've read on the Sega 16 forums that some games kinda overclock the Genesis, but I'm not entirely sure. I could be misremembering it. Maybe someone in the comments section could correct me.
Sounds like blast processing to me, that whole myth, yeah.
Will it be possible to reuse any code from the Genesis version in the Dreamcast port, or will it need to be entirely redone from scratch?
Yeah, it has to be written from scratch. The game logic and enemy logic, a lot of that can probably be moved over quite nicely. It's more about the engine side of things, which would have to be written from scratch again. I think we have to use OpenGL to render stuff to the screen, for example. Again, that's more of a Mac question, but yeah, it will be written entirely from scratch. And yeah, where we can reuse codes, we will, such as maybe with the procedural generation. I imagine that could be ported over quite nicely.
And will you be using one of the pre-existing Dreamcast engines, or are you creating a new one?
I imagine Matt will build on top of an existing one. Which one, I don't know. Yeah, that's techie stuff that I don't get involved with. I'm more game design and gameplay programming, so the techie stuff I leave to Matt.
Was Xenocrisis created with a custom game engine for the Genesis?
Yes, we're using, I think it's Stefan de Longueville. So yeah, we're using his SGDK and building our own engine on top of that. But for the PC and console, modern console versions, we also have our own in-house 2D engine, and that's what we use to prototype all of the gameplay aspects before we implement them on the Mega Drive. Because say if we want to add a new alien, we have to make sure it plays well on the PC version before we move over, because implementing stuff on the Mega Drive is everything has a knock-on on the Mega Drive. You know, it has a memory hit and the sprite numbers. Yeah, it'll hit the number of sprites. So yeah, so everything's tested out on the PC prototype first, and then carefully moved over to the Mega Drive.
If you were creating your own game engine, would it be possible to open source it?
Well, Matt's made quite a few changes to Stefan's SGDK, quite a few improvements in fact, which have been made public on GitHub. Maybe we can include the link somewhere. But the engine we're creating for Xenocrisis will remain in-house for the foreseeable future.
What software was used to create the assets for Xenocrisis?
So we're talking arts and audio. Audio, I know Daniel's using Deflamask, and the arts. Someone asked Henk that the other day. Actually, it's he uses ProMotion and something else. I might be able to find out if he's not been too chatty on Twitter. No, he definitely uses ProMotion and something else. Yeah, Henk's quite old school. I know he's a big fan of Deluxe Paint, so he prefers software similar in setup to that.
Daniel Monteiro asks what tools you're using, which you already answered, but what about the development process?
Yeah, I mean, it's all driven by the design, really. So initially we had to decide on the genre. A top-down 2D arena shooter would be great for the Mega Drive. There's not been many of them, and we thought we could improve on Smash TV. So we very quickly prototyped that on the PC, got it working great, and once we were happy with it, we started moving that over to the Mega Drive just to check that it was technically feasible, and it is. Yeah, it works great. Yeah, it mirrors what we've got on the PC, so that's cool. So yeah, then after that, it's more about adding features and enemies and pickups one by one and testing them out and balancing them. So yeah, it's just a constant process of adding bits to the game, seeing if they work. If they don't work, just throw it away and try something else. That's been my philosophy for 20 odd years now. And yeah, just don't be too precious about a certain idea. If a weapon's crap, then just ditch it and try another one.
I know it's not quite the same, but trust me, I know what it's like having to ditch ideas. I do that all the time for my videos, sadly.
Yeah, it's all part of the creative process, isn't it, really?
It is, sadly it is. Daniel Monteiro also asks if you ran into unexpected roadblocks which you hopefully overcame.
I don't think there's anything really unexpected. We knew the Mega Drive was really tight on memory and video memory. Yeah, you have to put off some clever tricks to push everything to the screen every update. Yeah, that's all been taken care of. I think the next headache is optimizing the collision system. But yeah, Matt's on that at the moment, and we've been having a good chat over on Sega 16 with some of the other developers there. So yeah, I think I can't imagine Matt's going to have any problems with that. He's very handy with assembler and C, so he'll get to the bottom of it.
It's kind of funny how we're both talking a lot about Sega 16 and its users, which is kind of cool because I've always seen it as the go-to place for Mega Drive or Genesis discussion, information, and apparently, at this point, even development information.
I think SpriteMind is probably the main site for Mega Drive developers, but yeah, you'll find a lot of them on Sega 16 as well, so yeah, there's often conversations happening on both forums, but yeah, it tends to be a bit more techie on SpriteMind.
Zeeb asks if there will be multiple endings in the game.
I think Matt answered this previously, but yeah, we're looking at different endings for, we've got 2 different difficulty levels, and also you can play as the male and female Marines, so yeah, I think if you play on easy, I would like a bog standard ending, telling you to play on hard, but yeah, you'll still get some kind of end sequence, so yeah, I imagine there should be different endings for both difficulty levels, and also if you play as the male or female Marine, possibly even as the duo, male and female, although you can also play as 2 female and 2 male, so we'll have to come up with some clever way of making sure we don't create 20 different endings.
Now moving on to Genovi, he asks what kind of stretch goal would we need to hit to unlock the highly requested 32 export?
Yeah, we're talking like $1 million there or something. No, it's I think the 32X is even more niche than the Mega Drive, of course. So yeah, it's unlikely to happen. We're kind of looking into a Saturn port, maybe. Just looking into the feasibility. But yeah, we've got enough on our plate really with the Mega Drive, Dreamcast, and now Switch and PC, of course. So yeah, it's an idea we've got on the back burner, but we'll see how things go through 2018.
Oh yes, please! If you release a Saturn port, it'll be the first indie commercial game for the Saturn ever! I'm just saying, it'll be really, really good for you guys. I can't think of any other indie game for the Saturn, especially not a commercial one.
Yeah, there was that Sonic 3D sort of demo recently.
Yeah, but that was a demo. I mean, like a full game for the Saturn? That would be awesome! And I'm sure there's a niche of starving gamers out there.
Well, if we can be the first, then yeah, that's quite exciting. So yeah, we'll definitely have to think about it. Yeah, I think we might even try it out at the upcoming Global Game Jam, which is just actually it's only 2 or 3 weeks away. So yeah, the previous Game Jam we did a Dreamcast game. So yeah, I think Matt wants to try a Saturn game this time. So
oh yes, please! I'm already drooling.
Yeah, he's got the hardware, so if he can crack it, then maybe Xenocrisis will appear on the Saturn one day. That'd be great.
If you do like a sequel or a new game, I swear I will seriously promote that game. Just take all my promotion.
Okay, yeah, we'll hold you to that.
Genovi is also asking, how large of a cartridge megabit-wise are you currently planning the game around?
Yeah, so we don't anticipate it being any bigger than 4 megabytes, which is 32 megabits. And yeah, we're not just going to add stuff to the game for the sake of it, just to bump it up to 48 or 64. So yeah, I'm pretty confident it will stay below 4 megabytes.
Aw, you should totally try going for like at least 40 megabits. So you'll at least match Super Street Fighter 2.
Well, yeah, we used to make games that had to fit in 16 kilobytes back in the mobile days, so yeah, 4 megabytes for us is actually quite a lot.
Ah, the good old days of Snake.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Is there any chance of an enhanced audio CD that utilizes the Sega CD's onboard chips in tandem with the Genesis? For reference, there is only one game that does this so far, and it's Pier Solar.
Yeah, we saw that and we thought it was pretty cool. I don't know, again, it's a pretty niche thing. I don't know how many Mega Drive owners also own Mega CDs. I suppose a lot of the hardcore collectors do. But I think Daniel's music's so good that I don't think it would benefit us producing a CD version of the soundtrack. I think the Mega Drive's got such a distinct sound, and Daniel's so good with the YM2612 chip that I think a CD version of the soundtrack's almost overkill at this stage. But yeah, we'll consider it and look into it. But yeah, probably won't happen.
Yeah, I do love the Mega Drive's raw audio, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it has a real distinctiveness to it, and well, there's other consoles and computers that have the same sound chip, of course. But when you hear that distinctive FM sound, it's a Mega Drive game. You can tell it apart so easily from a SNES game, for example. And yeah, over the last sort of 20 years or so, since people stopped making Mega Drive games, people like Daniel have pushed the sound chip even further. So I think people are going to be really impressed with what he's doing with the Xenocrisis soundtrack.
Michael Homer asks, have you considered add-on chips to get past some of the console's limitations?
I don't think it's necessary for us, really. The game's been built with the limitations of the Mega Drive in mind. The biggest, I think, limitation is probably the memory and the number of sprites we're allowed on the screen at any one time. But we've got measures to get around that, let's say, and maximise that. And yeah, I don't think it's possible to actually add a chip that can increase those capabilities anyway, sadly.
Oh, doesn't the Sega Virtua chip do anything of that nature?
I don't know. I mean, that's obviously dedicated to shifting polygons around, so I don't know if that would help out with sprites and memory limitations, possibly. But then the cartridge then becomes more expensive to produce, so and that might well put off people from going for it.
Will the game support 4 players?
Yeah, I've been looking at a versus mode for, like one-on-one. Might be quite a fun mode, and if that proves to be fun, then we could look into a 4-player mode, but probably not on the Mega Drive. I think that would just be, certainly in the arcade mode, it would just be too busy, too cluttered, and there'd be way too many sprites. So a 4-player mode could be a possibility on the Dreamcast, maybe the Switch, but we're not going to commit to it. We'd have to try it out first. But yeah, it's on our to-do list, let's say, so we're going to give it a go. Yeah, if it turns out to be good, then you might well see it in the final product. But yeah, not on the Mega Drive. It's definitely wouldn't happen on the Mega Drive.
Daryl Sparvier asks if there's any possibility of adding a 2-player co-op.
Yeah, well, that was our first stretch goal, actually, which we hit just within a few days, I think, of the campaign starting. We now have a female Marine in the game, and when you start the game, you can choose to play as a team, and you can choose, if you want to go in as 2 male or 2 female Marines, or a mixture of the two. So, yeah, that's in there, and it's just as fun as we expected it to be. So, I played a lot of Zombies Ate My Neighbours and obviously Smash TV, and they were great fun co-op. So yeah, we're aiming to keep that co-op mode just as fun as those classic games.
User Z123 is asking if the game is visually inspired by Doom.
There's definitely a bit of Doom in there, of course, yeah, with the Marine and just the whole setup of the game, and also the soundtrack, which is, I don't know how to describe it really. I don't know if it's progressive, thrash, rock, metal, I don't know, but I suppose it's almost like a top-down Doom, isn't it? I don't know if there was Doom RPG, wasn't there? But,
Well, I guess one can say every Doom game is top-down, considering it's a Raycast engine.
Oh, it does get well technical. just say it's 3D, yeah.
Eric asks if the game will be compatible with a 6-button control scheme. In his opinion, it could really benefit from it, using the Z, Y, B and C buttons to shoot up, down, left and right, sort of like face buttons.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a 6-button pad and the 6-button, what do they call it, the power stick, I think it was. We'll be trying out those button setups, and should work nicely, yeah. Obviously, we've got 2 new actions that weren't in Smash TV. We've got the roll and the grenade, so that's another 2 buttons that you're going to need to use during the game to have any chance of getting through. Yeah, obviously you've got those 2 extra buttons next to the shot buttons, so yeah, I think it should work, and yeah, we'll be trying that out shortly, actually.
And finally, Rex Warden is asking which methods you plan to use to deal with possible slowdown with a lot of sprites on screen, without excessive simplification.
Yeah, again, that's another techie question for Matt. But yeah, he's got it in hand. It's all about optimization and probably digging into assembler. Yeah, which I don't envy him on that task really. But yeah, he's a great coder, and I believe he's recently found an extra 4 kilobytes of video memory, which he's been really happy about, because that pretty much solves all of our tile and sprite issues. So,
Whoa, how did that happen?
I think he got distracted when he was writing some of the graphics routines and came back to it, but he didn't finish off what he was doing, so he recently went back to that bit of code and found there was an extra 4 kilobytes of the 64 kilobytes in total. So for him, yeah, that's a massive amount on a Mega Drive game. Yeah, it's given us a nice boost, shall we say.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how precise you have to be with how you develop your game, so you don't go over the very strict limitations of the console.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've got a lot of respect for anyone who's made a game on an 8 or 16-bit system. Yeah, myself, I don't really get too involved with the hardcore coding, the engine coding. Guys like Matt, they're really impressive, and I'm lucky to be able to work with him, really.
Well, you have been amazing. I wish you all the luck for your game. Doing all of this while still running your Kickstarter, you have been a superstar.
You're doing a great job, everything you've done so far has been brilliant, so yeah, cheers.